Woo!
Ooh. What?
Not helping.
I didn't intend to.
Hi friends! So today we are bringing you our 2nd August recap. We are pretty excited to talk about the books we read. I'm sure Macky is, especially because he's been reading a series that he really likes.
More on that later.
So we are going to be talking about the books we read in the last 2 weeks of August today. I did not get a lot of reading done.
Gee, I wonder why.
Part of the reason for that is still my obsession with fanfic, which is something I talk about fairly often on Twitter because I am obsessed with fanfic, writing it, reading it, it's a thing. But also it's because I spent nearly an entire weekend just watching Rurouni Kenshin because obsession, and I finished season 2 and it was so good. I still have one more season to go, but I love it. I really enjoyed it. I think the story is great. There are a lot of great characters in it and people I really love. I did a lot of yelling, which Macky can attest to because there was a lot of yelling.
And I also did show her the OAV, the OVA of the prequel.
We speak not of that because that's also yelling.
And then I did tell her that after she watches season 3, we can watch the last OVA and then have to follow it up with a really good Miyazaki movie because that's the only way you can wash all of that tragedy out of your mouth.
So that's how I've been doing in my real life, but I guess we're gonna go get on to the books now. I finished reading a sequel in the middle of the month, and it is The Dazzling Heights, which is the sequel to The Thousandth Floor, both of which are by Catherine Macky. And this is basically like a Gossip Girl type story set in a futuristic sci-fi high-tech world. And I love the setting a lot because I think it's so fascinating just to see the way the author decided to incorporate all this technological advancement and like all the situations and scenarios in which this would probably have happened. I also enjoyed being entertained by the high levels of drama and secrecy and stuff that goes on in that book. There's a lot of stuff. It's like, it really is like watching an episode of Gossip Girl, except that for this one, I didn't quite love it as much as the first one just because I felt like a few of the storylines are a little recycled, so they kind of use similar things to the first one. However, there are a few new factors, like a new character who I really enjoyed that come into this one, and I think it ends on a good note. Like, it could just end there, but there is also definitely potential for it to continue on as a series. So I don't know if that's gonna happen yet. There's been no official 3rd book announcement, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, if you're a fan of stuff like The A-List or Gossip Girl or Pretty Little Liars, you're probably gonna enjoy this one as well. So definitely check it out if that's the case.
Future gossip, gotcha. Well, I went back to the past for this next book. So it's a review book that Alexa got that I was like, yeah, I'll totally read it. So it's called The Midnight Dance. And it's a story about you'll like this. 17-year-old Penny is lead dancer at the Grand Teatro, a finishing school where she and 11 young other women are training to become the finest ballerinas in Italy. Tucked deep into the woods, the school is overseen by the mysterious and handsome young master who keeps the girls enclosed in the estate and in the only life Penny has ever known. So I want to classify this book I know, right? It's a cue. I want to classify this book as macabre mystery light because it is, though. It is.
I like
I'm
how
totally
you
making
coming
that
up
up
with
now.
a new genre again.
I am totally coming up to it. I've actually when you see my review on this thing, I've actually hashtagged it MML because because it's creepy, like really creepy, very macabre, and it's kind of like dark. What is this master really doing? Total creeper vibes, because why would you be keeping a bunch of girls sequestered in a house?
Yeah, slightly creepy.
In tutus. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just very creeperific. And so, again, boy, paranormal YA romance.
I sense we have someone who reads paranormal on this channel now, because that is not me.
Well, it's okay. To be fair, it's okay. It's not paranormal. I mean, spoilers, but there's no like monsters creeping, but it's still YA romance anyway. And
I think that about sums up his reaction to this book.
It's straightforward. I'll give it that. You go from point A to point B, and the mystery unravels. So if you like mysteries and you like the genre, then this is and YA, this is a good kind of poster child for it because it's light enough to keep you going without like dragging you down. But at the same time, there's enough of a bit of, okay, so what does this mean and what does that mean? And it unfolds towards the end. So we get to find out who the master really is and what's going on with Penny and her sudden jolts of memory that she remembers things that she may have probably done or not have done. She doesn't
Scary.
know. That's kind of like...
Very
So yeah, so
paranormal.
there's a huge kind of weird, creepy vibe to it, just all the way through. And if you like that, hashtag MML.
Well, the next book I read was another ebook. It's something I got for review again, and it is Ruffles Soul by S01E05, and oh my goodness, by far one of my favorite things that I've read this year. If you're into Korean dramas, especially the type of Korean dramas that are like City Hunter
And who isn't?
Healer, who I've heard, which I've only heard about and not seen yet for myself, you will probably enjoy this book. It's about a boy named Jaewon. I will tell you now that I will probably butcher all these pronunciations, and I'm sorry about that. But it's about a boy named Jaewon, and he has basically escaped his life as a gang member to be enrolled in a military academy, which is sort of like the career path that all Korean teens have to go through in this new version of Seoul. There's it's very militarized. The whole world has been in this war. The whole East Pacific, sorry, has been in this war that has, you know, basically made it so that the military is the most powerful force in the country. Anyway, moving on. So he's really talented as a pilot, and so when he takes his final graduation test, he gets assigned to like this secret high priority weapons division in the government, and he finds out that they have a secret project for super soldiers, and he is assigned to basically be the caretaker for one of the super soldiers. But then the more he interacts with his super soldier, her name is Tara, the more
The K-drama
and the more
aspect.
like he unravels like the logic behind why the super soldiers exist, why they're fighting this war, so on and so forth, he starts questioning what he really believes in and what he's really willing to stand for, and that's the whole heart of the conflict there. And it's so much fun. The action scenes are so great. The setting is so intensely good. The characters took me a little while to warm up to, especially Jaewon himself, which kind of was where the book suffered a teensy bit for me at first, but eventually I was like super invested and I just needed to know. And it ends on such a great note. I really, really enjoyed this one. I would happily read a sequel, although I would request that it would come from a different character's point of view, because there is a character I love more than Jaewon, which I can't say, but suffice to say that if you read this book and you know me at all, you will probably guess which character it is.
But he's like kind of like Captain of the Guards-y, kind of sullen.
So, if you're looking for
I know every one of her book boyfriends.
If you like books that are action-packed, that have like this fun sort of exploration into a character's perspective, motives, and growth, and you want something that's a little bit different from normal, because this is set in Seoul, and obviously the characters are primarily Asian and Korean, which
Yeah, it's almost it's almost pre-futuristic dystopia, because
yeah, it's incredible. It's such a fun read, and I would highly recommend you check it out.
Okay, and now for the dark horse of my BA haul. A lot of people have been tweeting about it, talking about it as well, who've read it, and I present to you all Nixia. My review came up for this on Alexa's blog, and what's funny is I was standing in line for Lee Bardugo's Wonder Woman Warcrossed, and I saw like a bunch of people kind of going, hey, what is that thing? And there's this dude throwing out arcs, and I'm just like, oh, can somebody hold my place in line? I don't know what that is. And so I grabbed it. Didn't think twice about it. Thought it was some random futuristic, again, romance or some such. But no. This is great action. This is great, you know, coming of age stuff. And it is, you know, it was maybe, and I want to give a shout out to the author who, I don't know if he still teaches, but was a kind of a high school teacher, and he kind of wanted to write a book that he could have his front row sleepers and back row dreamers students to kind of look into it and go, yeah, that's totally me. And it's got it. 800 million points for having characters who are people who are POCs, like perfect. But at the same time, at the heart of it is just this young man just trying to do the right thing in a spacey kind of sci-fi environment. So I really recommend this book. Really loved it. It was fast-paced, well-written. There's such a good heart to it that you're like, it would write well as a screenplay. There are so few books that I know that would immediately translate to screen. And not have too many people go, oh my god, but they missed that. No, this is just the right pace. This is just the right amount of everything that you're gonna want in a summer blockbuster. And so I had the most fun reading it of a lot of the BA books that I got. So glad I had people hold my place in line at the Lee Bardugo Warcross line so I could grab one of these and put it in my pile. So totally recommend it.
If his last book recommendation was for a book that would make a great summer blockbuster, mine would be for like a teen romantic comedy or a Disney Channel original movie, because this next book that I'm going to show you guys is one of my favorite reads of 2017. was so good. I'm so glad I finally read it, although I'm kind of kicking myself in the butt for waiting so long since it came out in April, I want to say. And that book is Geek Karela by Ashley Poston, which is a pretty book on the inside. Ta-da! It's really soft, guys. That's the other thing I love.
It's pretty on the inside and the outside.
It's basically like a Cinderella retelling in modern day, but with a fandom convention spin to it, which I really love. It's about a girl named Elle, and she is a huge fan of this TV show called Starfield. And she decides that she is going to participate in a cosplay contest so that she can win money that will go towards, you know, her being independent of her stepmother and stepsisters. So, on the other hand, Starfield is being remade, this time into a movie, and they cast a boy named Darian to play the main character, Prince Carmindor. And he is a fan of the show, but he's obviously getting a lot of backlash because, you know, if you hold something near and dear to your heart, it's very difficult to have people say that they're going to redo it.
Yeah,
it's always a touchy thing.
It's difficult to mess with
they meet
fandoms.
under unusual circumstances and stuff happens, but suffice to say, it was funny, it was heartfelt. I really love the characters. I think she did an incredible job with all her nods to the original Cinderella fairy tale. They're all in there and it's so amazing. And I also love the way she writes about fandom because it's exactly how I feel about fandom in general and being a fangirl. It's just the enthusiasm, the heart, the way that so many people from different walks of life can come together to bond over something. It's so good. And I was just like, it made me cry, guys, and I was not expecting that. So I was reading this and I'm like, why am I getting so emotional? But it was so good. I'm so glad I finally read it, and I hope you guys will definitely check this one out. So I will continue talking about books. The next book I read was also a winner, and that is Macky by Jennifer Matthew, and this is about a girl who decides she's had enough of the way that other girls are treated at their school, whether it comes to the school dress code or the guys catcalling or the way that the guys make really lewd jokes or wear really lewd shirts too, which is terrible. So she, Vivian, main character, decides to start a revolution, and she does it in an anonymous way at first because she's inspired by her mom's Riot Girl history. So she ends up creating this anonymous zine and distributing it in the school, and it starts snowballing into a thing greater than she could have ever imagined.
Sweet.
And I loved it. I so enjoyed it. After I finished it, I was like, I feel so empowered and I feel so inspired because that's just the kind of book it is. It's nice because it doesn't give you like to me, it didn't come across as like, this is the perfect way to do whatever. Actually, what happens in this book is that Vivian doubts herself a lot and she questions what she's doing, and so do the other characters who are a part of it. Because it's hard to do something like that, to stand up against the society that you've grown up in or the way that society runs in the place that you live. But it's it's such a good read. It's so complex in its exploration of those different aspects, and I really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it. And the last book I want to mention before Macky talks about the series I like, and at least that way this video will end on a high note, is a book that I liked but I didn't necessarily love, and that's Firebird by Mercedes Lackey. This is the first in her fairy tales, sort of loosely connected series, I guess. Obviously, this is based on the Firebird folktale from Russia. And the thing is, the reason why I didn't love this one as much as I wanted to was because the main character just really bugged me. He's a typical guy, and I get that like in fairy tales, like it's very like easy to slip into like typical guy attitudes, but it just bugged me, like the way he saw women and the way he saw the world.
So pretty much
like
the two princes from Into the Woods, basically.
Yeah,
brother, where shall we go?
It was just very exasperating, and it was really hard for me to get into because a good chunk of the book, like at least the first half, is basically just about him and his life. And yeah, I feel sorry for him because he has a lot of hardship in his life, considering he lives with a bunch of brothers who are like brutes, and his dad doesn't really care for him.
Aww.
So I get it, like, and I sympathize in that regard, but like his attitudes about certain things just made me want to punch him in the face too, so there's that. But once his adventure starts with the Firebird, like once everything clicks, like the Firebird shows up and things start happening, it got really interesting, and it had the tone of a typical fairy tale, which is always a bonus for me as someone who loved fairy tales. It reminded me a little bit of Ibong Adarna as well as a Firebird, which was really interesting to me.
It's a local
it's a Filipino
folk myth.
Any Filipino viewers will know what I'm talking about. It's like three brothers who go off after the bird because their dad tells them to.
And Gorgonite poop. It's true. That's the only way I could summarize it. You basically poops on you, you turn to stone.
Anyway, it had the whimsy of a fairy tale, and in the end, yes, it won me over, but it definitely took a while for it to get there. So, this is one that I'm kind of like,
Well, if you got Prince Charming as the lead, right? Singing
like
agony all the way through to
should have just had the Firebird as the lead, let's be real. Anyway, so that was the last book I read in August, which was a bit of a downer considering I've had such an amazing reading month, but that's okay too.
I, on the other hand, present to you, finally was able to get around to reading the Tapestry series by Henry Neff, and I gotta say it's one of those hidden gems that I believe are extremely underrated, but I totally get why not too many people went for it, because not a lot of people will be brave enough to set up their hero in kind of like one of easily the best schools of magic pretty much almost ever, right? Rowan Academy, and then suddenly, spoilers, throw it in the direction that you'd go, shouldn't they be preventing this kind of thing from happening? And yet it does, and then the story picks off from after that. And so that's such a huge twist. You never see, it's almost kind of like Buffy season 1 where, for any Buffy the Vampire Slayer fossils out there, because we're old and so is the series, who kills their lead in the, nobody, it's not, that's not what this, that's no spoilers there, but who would kill their lead in the first season? Apparently the writers at Buffy and Co. So and so that's what basically the Tapestry series is. It starts with the Hound of Rowan, where we've got 11-year-old Max Daniels coming to terms with the fact that there's something very unique and special about him, and he gets spirited off to Rowan Academy, where everyone who's got that ancient little spark of magic is taken and trained and to be warriors and scholars and poets and whatever it is that the world needs to stave off this coming darkness, which is who makes it. And so the second piece is the second siege, obviously, and I believe this is it's great to start with these two books, because right after this things get crazy, like all the way through. It's like, are you kidding?
He was crying reading the third book.
I was sobbing,
like
reading.
Sobbing, like I heard him and I was like, is everything okay?
You know, and I haven't been this moved in a long time since watching since reading the Harry Potter series. I mean,
God.
I've always known from reading Imperium that it would wind up on my top shelf with the Garth Nix's and the Tamara Pierce books, books of the bookses. I like books.
You sound like Gollum.
Books. Because this is the precious now. And so I highly recommend it for anybody who's looking for the non-regular tropes. I do get kind of why maybe it's not as well known in the same way that the Tamara Pierce books, and there's not enough.
Oh, Tammy.
There's not enough, like,
more on that later.
Right, there's not enough soul candy, right? It's not sugary sweet enough that it's got like the romance and it's got like the super cool. No, here it's just hard slogging, terrible circumstances that you just have to go through, and an amazing hero at the core of it. And I have never been more in love with Irish mythology, and now that I know how to pronounce some of their names, like Cuchulainn and all of these folks. It's just really, really fun. And I am currently reading the 5th book in the series, which apparently only came out in Kindle format for whatever reasons that the author puts on his blog. But I'm rereading all of these again because I loved Imperium. I still do. I'll reread Imperium again. And we'll let you guys know on the next recap how that went and if I cried anymore.
Probably will.
I probably will. Right.
Anyway, those were all the books that we read in August. What else have we been up to? Oh, we just got back from being in Orlando. We went to BookNet Fest because I spoke at a panel called Us and the Industry.
BookNet Fest was awesome. We would totally go again next year.
Marinette and Sam did a really good job bringing everyone together, and it was just nice to see people from all different platforms come together. And all these panels were really fun too, all the topics.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, we would have stayed, but it's our anniversary and I totally kidnapped her and took her to Disneyland.
Yeah, he took me to Disney.
I apologize.
There are no clips
that was
of
my fault. But
that was like really fun.
Totally my
too.
fault.
Oh, Tamara Pierce, yes. She has a new book coming out in October called Tortle, A Spy's Guide, and we're really excited. So what we decided to do, because there's also another new book coming out in February, and it's Numaire's book, which... Tempest and Slaughter. We decided we were going to do something Tamara Pierce centered. We don't know yet if that's just rereading the books and talking to you guys about them.
It's totally going to be rereading the books, for sure.
Or doing something
and we will talk
different.
About it.
We would love to know if you guys have any ideas of things you want to see from us when it comes to that, so just throwing that out there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. We hope you guys enjoyed it and found more new books to add to your TBR. And again, we're so grateful for everyone who leaves comments and subscribes to the channel. It's always so fun for us to see your reactions to the things we say in our videos, because it's kind of funny.
Super fun.
Anyway, till next time, bye!